Tonight's yoga practice is a restorative practice. So the purpose of restorative yoga is to get deeper into some passive stretches. So that means a lot of longer holds so we can really start to relax the body and restore the muscles. So we're going to use a lot of props in order to get a little deeper into these longer holds. So before you set up for your practice, I recommend having 2 blocks. And if you don't have yoga blocks at home, anything that's about this thickness and this height will do. So oftentimes people will use a small stack of books and then place a blanket on top of it so it's a little bit softer. If you have like a dictionary or an encyclopedia, if anybody still has those, you can use that as well. Just make sure you have something soft to put on top of it. And then I also recommend having some sort of strap. So if you don't have a yoga strap, you can always use a towel or a belt instead. Just something that you can loop around the feet, so about that length. And then I also recommend having 1 or 2 blankets or towels. So I'm just using beach towels here. I've got The Incredibles and Disney princesses, but you can use blankets any thickness, any height that you like. We're going to roll them up and kind of use them for a variety of different poses. So when you've got all your props, we're going to start seated at the top of the mat. So I'm sitting up on one of my blocks. I find that makes it a little bit easier to sit up a little bit taller, neutralize the pelvis. You can also sit up on your blankets or your towels as well. And when you arrive in this seated position, just place the palms gently on the thighs or the knees. Close your eyes. Make sure your heart is stacked over your pelvis and your head is stacked over your heart. And as always, we'll find a quiet moment of meditation before our practice. Noticing the breath, noticing thoughts, sensations. I love to practice restorative yoga at the end of the day before I go to sleep at night to just kind of reset the body and quiet the mind. Really focus on directing your attention to the breath. Making the inhales and exhales even in length. Notice how the breath moves throughout the body. And notice where you can soften or what you can let go of as you release the breath out the mouth. And the next time you inhale, really breathe deeply into the belly and shrug the shoulders up towards the ears. And on your exhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together and relax them down your back. Sit up a little bit taller. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, shrug the shoulders up towards the ears. Feeling a little bit of tension here. And then on the exhale, squeezing the shoulder blades together, relaxing the shoulders down the back. And try and take this integrity of the shoulders into the rest of your practice, just really letting the body be light and relaxed. And using the breath to bring you to that space of relaxation. Let's start to find a little bit of movement, tucking the chin to the chest. Feeling a stretch in the back of the neck, all the way up towards the base of the skull. And on an inhale, keeping that chin nice and tucked, start to take the right ear over towards the right shoulder. Breathe into the left side of the neck. And then come back through center, keeping the chin tucked, taking the left ear over to the left shoulder. Do that one more time each side. Slowly roll right ear to right shoulder. And then slowly come back through center, rolling left ear to left shoulder. And this time hold on the left side. Focus on really relaxing that right shoulder down. Let it just melt away. And if you want, you can bring your right hand, you only have one of them, out to the right side and get really active through the fingertips. And notice how that creates a stretch all the way from the tips of the right fingertips all the way up to the top of the right side of the neck. Breathe here. You can keep this left hand where it is, or you can take it to rest gently on top of the right ear. Gently pulling the left ear closer to the left shoulder. And gently release that hand from the ear and slowly make your way back to center. You should feel a little bit uneven here. Tuck the chin to the chest and then roll the right ear over to the right shoulder. Stay here, focus on relaxing that left shoulder away from the left ear. That will intensify the stretch in the left side of the neck. And again, you might bring the left hand out at like a 45-degree angle, just reaching diagonally, stretching all the way from the left fingertips to the top of the left side of the neck. And always the option to bring the right hand to rest gently on top of the left ear. And breathe here. And slowly release the right hand from the right ear, and make your way back to center. We'll find some seated cat-cows. So I actually like to remove my block for these, but that's just a personal preference. Just come to a cross-legged position and take the hands to the knees. And just like our cat-cows, on the inhale, you'll straighten the arms, press the chest through the arms, and find an arch in the low back. You might even bend the arms a little bit here. And on your exhale, tuck the chin round through the spine and your arms will become really straight. Again, inhale, maybe bend at the elbows, arch the spine, puff out the chest, open the throat. And exhale, tuck the chin, round through the spine, creating a C shape in the back. Do that about 3 more times. Move with your breath. Move nice and slow. If you feel any sensations, maybe stop and notice. Creating space in the body with our prana, our breath. And as you're ready, slowly come back to seated. Take the right hand outside of your right hip. Reach the left fingertips up and over the head. Maybe bend the right elbow. Maybe bring the right hand out a little bit further. And as you come into this side body stretch, keep that left hip, left sit bone glued to the mat and keep the left shoulder relaxing down. So in our warm up here, we're moving the spine in all 6 ways that the spine moves. We're moving laterally, we're flexing and extending, and we'll do some twisting as well. Next inhale brings you back to center. Bring the left hand outside of the left hip. Reach the right fingertips up and over the head. Again, really mindfully here, gluing that right side of the seat down to the mat and relaxing the right shoulder. Send your breath to the right side ribs. And on your next inhale, make your way back to center, and we'll find a little bit of twisting. Inhale, reach the arms nice and long up to the sky. Exhale, twist to the right. The right fingertips will tent behind the back. The left hand will come to the outside of the right knee or thigh. Visualize the spine growing longer with every inhale. And the torso twisting a little bit deeper with every exhale. On your next inhale, come back through center, reach up nice and tall. And on your exhale, twist to the left. Tap the left fingertips, little to no weight here in that left hand. Bring the right hand to the outside of the left thigh or knee. And again, you're growing taller on your inhales and twisting deeper on your exhales. Utilizing the breath in this gentle movement. And on your next inhale, come back to center, reach the fingertips up to the sky, and exhale, let it go. We'll take a cleansing breath before we move into our restorative poses. Deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. And let's begin. So we'll move into some deeper holds here, starting with a restorative bridge pose. So this is a little bit of a back bend, but again, we're going to make this really gentle. So I recommend using your books here. You can also use your blocks, books or blocks, whatever you have. And then towels and blankets are also available. So I'll show you a few variations for setting up for a restorative bridge pose. So we don't want to take too much of a back bend because we really want to be able to settle into this stretch and make it more passive instead of an active stretch. So coming into a lying position with your feet on the ground, your knees reaching towards the sky. Make sure you can graze the heels with the fingertips just ever so slightly, and the feet are hips width distance apart. So the simplest variation of bridge here is to just lift the hips up to the sky, maybe even just a couple inches, and then you'll slide that block or your books or your blankets underneath the sacrum, which is that triangular bone at the base of the spine. And you can stay here, make this nice and simple. If whatever you're using is a little bit too hard, it's not soft enough, you might take this blanket or towel on top of the block and settle in there. If you feel any low back discomfort in this posture, I recommend using a second block or a second stack of books. And this might take some setting up to do unless you have a person on hand to kind of help you out. But the second block or set of books will go at the bottom of your mat, pretty much right at the edge there. And then again, as you come into this bridge pose, you'll just come in as we did the last time, lifting the hips slightly. I'm going to remove my blanket, and then just sliding the block underneath the sacrum. And I find I can sometimes release my low back in more of a gentle way by having my legs out long instead of on the mat. So I can just rest my feet on this block here. And that might feel a little bit more comfortable in the low back. For some of you, it might cause a little bit more discomfort. So find what works in your body. For me, sometimes it just depends on the day. And if you'd like, you can take a blanket and you can kind of roll up the edge of it and just stick it right at the base of the neck, creating this little pillow here, but still keeping that curve in the spine. Cervical spine. And wherever you are, just settle in. I think today I'm going to take the variation with my feet on the ground. And as we start to get into these passive stretches, our body will start to cool down. So I like to have an extra blanket or a towel nearby. You might want to just cover yourself up and help you to just keep the body nice and warm. We'll be here for a few minutes. So just settle in. Remember, these postures are all about comfort. So if at any point you have to change something, add or subtract props to make it more comfortable, feel free to do so. This is your practice. Start to bring your awareness back to the breath. Noticing any thoughts or sensations and letting them pass by. We'll come out of this pose really gently, the same way we came into it. Whenever this feels complete in your body, you can always feel free to pause the video and stay a little bit longer. If you had your legs out long, resting on a block or another elevated surface, just bring them back down onto the mat. Press into the heels to lift the hips just a couple inches and slide that block out from underneath you or whatever you were using, and just let it go off to the side and gently roll the spine back down onto the mat. A couple options for counter postures here. If you just want stillness, bring the left foot out to the left side of the mat, the right foot out to the right side of the mat, and just let the knees knock in towards one another. Maybe resting one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. If you want to find a little bit of movement, again, taking that wide stance with the feet, maybe you just windshield wiper the legs side to side. And then as you're ready, you'll start to hug the knees into the chest, maybe taking a couple rocks here. And then coming on to either your right or your left side and gently pressing up to a seated position. So for our next posture, we'll set up for a restorative wide-legged forward fold. So for this posture, I recommend placing a blanket underneath the seat to elevate the hips just an inch or two. And then this is a wide-legged forward fold, but that could look different for everybody depending on your inner thighs and your hamstrings and how they're feeling today. So your legs might be at a acute angle right here. They might be a little bit more of a right angle or an obtuse angle. Is a geometry lesson for you. So for this wide-legged forward fold, we, in a more active class, would keep the spine nice and long, and we would walk forward, breathing here and really feeling an intense stretch in the inner thighs. To make this a little bit gentler, we are going to stack some props up so we can round the spine, kind of tuck the chin to the chest, and just let gravity do the work. So we're essentially bringing the floor closer to us so we can get the benefits of coming all the way into this deep stretch, but we can make it a lot softer and a lot more accessible for our breath. So you want to take your block or your props just a couple inches, maybe a foot or so in front of like the pubic bone area. And then I like to do my first block up on the tall side, and then my second block on the smaller height. And then I like to take a pillow or a blanket and then just place that on top of the block. So get creative here, even if you need to stack like 7 pillows on top of each other to create that height. Go ahead and do that. You might clean out your towel closet and use all those towels, whatever works. But whenever you find something that you think is a good height for you, again, you'll just start to round the spine forward, and the forehead will come to rest. If you have pillows, I don't have a lot of space here, but if you have pillows, you might rest your arms on the pillows. I kind of like to just rest my arms on my shins. And you can play with the location of the blocks here. So if you find that they're a little too close to your body and you're not getting a lot of rounding in the spine, which will create a nice release in the low back, you might bring them a little bit farther away. And again, just resting the forehead on the block. Feel free to take the legs closer together or farther apart. And we'll be here for a few moments of breath. If the mind starts to wander, simply bring your awareness back to your breath. Maybe counting the length of the inhales and the exhales to help focus your attention. Just another few breaths here. Just like all of these restorative postures, you can pause the video and stay a little bit longer. But as this feels complete in your body, you'll gently lift the forehead off of the props, tucking the chin to the chest, letting the hands just glide up towards the thighs, the quads, and slowly roll up to a seated position. Blink the eyes open. And then release your props off to the side. And we'll find a little bit of a stretch here using the strap. So whether you have a belt or a towel, stay propped up on that towel beneath you. Again, bring your legs closer together or farther apart, depending on what your body's looking for. And then turn your torso so it's square over your right leg. Go ahead and loop the strap around the sole of the right foot. Inhale to lengthen your spine, and exhale to fold forward. Even weight in both sides of the seat and both of the hips. Again, this is a little bit more active than our restorative postures. You might walk the hands forward. And notice if this active stretching is a little bit more manageable or a little bit easier to breathe into after that passive, relaxing hold. And slowly inhale, lift the spine once more, and we'll take that to the other side. Unloop the strap, square the torso over the left leg, and then loop the strap around the sole of the left foot. Inhale to lengthen the spine, exhale to fold. Pressing into both sides of the seat. You might walk the hands a little bit further forward. Just a breath or two in this active forward fold. And then slowly inhale, come up halfway, lengthen spine, and then unloop the strap here. And we'll set up for Supta Baddha Konasana. So this is reclined bound angle pose. So bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana, is with the soles of the feet together. We're just gonna take this lying down. So I really recommend using as many props as possible here. So bringing the soles of the feet to touch and bringing the legs out to like a wide diamond shape. I recommend sticking blocks or blankets right underneath the thighs. It might take you a minute to find that sweet spot, but especially if you've done this posture before and you tend to feel any tension or gripping in the knees. Again, our goal here is to let gravity do the work so we can just breathe and relax into this stretch. So blocks or blankets here will be really helpful in just letting the knees fall out to the sides. So as you come to lie down, you might notice that you have to adjust, and that's totally fine. Again, find your sweet spot. So mine tends to be a little bit farther away from my knees, but some people like the blocks or blankets a little bit closer to the knees. If you're using something here that's not so soft, feel free to stick blankets on top of that prop for a little bit more comfort. And then feel free to take a pillow under the head. Again, I always like to roll up just about a third of the pillow or the blanket, and then just stick that at the base of my neck here, keeping that nice curve, fixing my bun. You have options with the hands here. You can bring them out long, maybe face them up for acceptance or down for grounding. In Supta Baddha Konasana, I like to bring my left hand to my belly and my right hand to my heart. This pose is a really vulnerable posture, a really deep opening in all different parts of the body. The inner thighs, the hips, the heart. Just really let yourself feel grounded. Letting the body relax into the earth or the mat beneath you. And notice if there's tension in the body. Visualize that your breath is a color. And imagine that color breathing into the tips of the lungs and spreading throughout the entire body, creating physical space where you feel stuck. And as you recognize that tension in the body, that might be signaling to other parts of your body to tense up or to stress out or to kick on that flight or fight response. So notice if tension in your knees is causing tension in the face, or if discomfort in the hips is causing your teeth to clench or your jaw to be really tight. Just be aware of that and do what you can to let it go. Begin to deepen the breath. If you have a hand on the low belly, feel the hand rise with every inhale and let it fall back down with every exhale. Make sure to come out of this pose really gently, bringing the hands to the outsides of the thighs whenever you're ready, and gently pressing the knees together and hugging them into the chest. Again, maybe you massage out the low back, taking some rocks side to side. Eventually, you'll just roll onto one side. Find one breath in the fetal position. And then slowly make your way back to a seated position. Removing any props and getting them out of the way. And before we move into Shavasana, we'll take one child's pose. Bringing the knees out wide. Toes will come to touch, and the seat will sink back to the heels. If there's a lot of space in between your seat and your heels, take a blanket, maybe fold it up once or twice, maybe roll it up into like a little burrito, and just take that underneath the seat, in between the seat and the heels, as a little bit of padding, so you can make that contact, really sinking the seat back. Again, if the ground feels far away, take a blanket or a block, stick it underneath the forehead, and just let the arms go out long. We'll just take about 10 breaths here. After your own 10 or so breaths, start walking the hands into the center of the body, sitting upright on the heels, keeping the eyes closed, relaxing the shoulders down the back. Take a moment here just to notice. And we'll set up for our Shavasana, our final resting pose. So if you're completing this practice before bed, sometimes I like to just take my Shavasana right to my bed. If you're doing this practice as sort of a reset in the middle of the day, you might take a seated meditation instead of a full Shavasana to give yourself a little bit more energy for the rest of your day. But as you settle into your Shavasana, I recommend taking this is kind of like the shape of a yoga bolster. You might even take 2 of them, just towels or blankets, and fold them up so they're like in this tube shape, and take them underneath the knees as you lie down for low back release. Again, use as many props as you like here, maybe a pillow underneath the head. Let the legs come out long. Feel free to cover up here, sweatshirt, socks, blankets. Noticing all points of contact between the back body and the ground beneath you, whether that's a mat, a carpet, a bed. Let all of those areas of the body be super heavy, melting into the mat. Imagine that you sink so far deeply into this ground beneath you that when you eventually get up, you leave an imprint. Let the breath become natural once more. Let the face be soft. Notice if the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth and just gently remove it. And as you drift off, settling into your Shavasana, you can stay here as long as you'd like, maybe transitioning to your bedtime, maybe just lying here for as much time as you have. 10 to 12 minutes of Shavasana will do wonders for the body and the nervous system. Whatever kind of time you have, give it to yourself right now and settle into your rest. Namaste.